Hello and welcome to the second advantage that tells you when to eco. This one is the tech lead or the composition lead. And you have a tech lead or a composition lead whenever you expect to get a much better mass for mass kill death ratio than your opponent. And this way you can economize on units. So for example, you have a couple of Aurora, opponent has a couple of strikers, and this is the same mass value. And if you attack, you have the range advantage and you're going to win, right? That's how it usually works, unless your micro completely sucks, but let's not hope so. And since your Aurora is going to win against the enemy striker mass for mass, it's okay to have less Aurora, right? So you can, in these situations, let's wait until this is over. So in these situations, it may have been okay to just have 4 Aurora against 5 strikers, right? And a bit of micro is going to put the tech lead into effect, and you will still win the battle, even if you have less. And the cost of this Aurora is something you can put into your eco, right? So that's how a tech lead or a composition lead works. Your kill death ratio mass for mass is better than the opponent's. And there are several ways of making use to it. One would be to simply build less in the first place. The safer option would be to build the same amount as your opponent, but either you self-destruct a few and upcycle them into your economy before the fight happens, or you wait until after the fight and you translate your tech lead or composition lead advantage into a reclaim lead advantage, right? So you can see these concepts are directly related. And a tech lead is not only about tech levels, right? In some cases it is. Here we have T2 units, Mongoose, against T1 units, Aurora, and this is a very uneven fight, right? So if the UEF player micros properly, then he's not going to lose a single Mongoose, and the Auroras are all going to die. And again, you have the same mass in the Mongoose as in the Auroras. 1000 mass of Mongoose here and 1000 mass of Auroras here. So this is a situation where T2 is actually better than T1. But as I said before, this is not always the case, right? So here's why. I won't forget the T1 monitors. So we take some T1 bombers, and yeah, I kind of forgot the intel, so let's send a scout first. And here you can see what's going to happen. So we send groups of bombers, T1 bombers, against T2 land units. And there we go. Right? Even though these were T2 units and on a higher tech level than our T1 air, the T1 air is still going to win, without losses even in this case, right? So when you speak of tech lead or composition lead, it's not about tech levels. It's just about having the proper counter to whatever the opponent has. So let's take a look on a couple of more examples. In this situation, you have 15 ASFs and your opponent has 20 ASFs and 2 strats. And it is safe to say that the opponent has air superiority, but you cannot say that the opponent has air control, because air control actually implies that you can use it. So I haven't distinguished these two terms as sharply in the past, but I think it makes sense to do so. Because if the opponent attacks with the strats and you send the ASFs at his strats, then the strats will die, and you will also lose air, right? You won't have ASFs after this battle. Or if you manage to retreat, you keep a few. But the opponent is definitely going to have more ASFs after this fight than you. But what matters is that he needs to fight on your side of the map to use the strats, right? He wants to bomb. And when he attacks with that, you can kill the strats. They die on your side of the map, you get the wreckages, and even though you lose all the air maybe, and he just loses a few of his ASFs, the next time he's going to perform the same attack, you will have recovered, and gotten a couple of interceptors or like ASFs again, right? And it doesn't really matter if you have more ASFs or less ASFs than the opponent. What matters is who has air control, and air superiority is not going to be enough for that. So if you have at any time have just enough ASFs to kill the air-to-ground weapons in the composition of your opponent, then it's as if the opponent didn't have air control in the first place, or air superiority in the first place, actually, right? So this would be a situation where I would advise this player to build more ASFs and maybe only one strat, right? Because the strats aren't tanky, and the ASFs can clear out the enemy ASFs in advance, even if they are SAMs. And then the strat can pass through a different angle around the around the SAMs, right? So this would be another composition advantage, right? And here you have less units than the opponent, and your composition is even simpler than the opponent's, but it's still going to result in attack or composition advantage. So I hope this is clear now. Here's another example for you. So we have a gun shield ICU, and we have a high number of high value T2 units. And basically I'm just going to overcharge them. So let's hope this doesn't hit the ground. But you can see what's happening, right? Even though he's got the better... Oh, this didn't remember. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. It's probably an attack order under the OC order or something, or whatever. But you can see what's going on, right? The ACU is not losing HP, and even if it lost some HP, it wouldn't matter, because HP doesn't cost mass, right? But if you kill the units and don't even leave wreckages behind, potentially on the enemy side of the map, then this is directly going to translate into attack or composition advantage. So you pay less than the opponent loses all, you stay in the game and have the upper hand, and all the eco you didn't spend on these T2 units, something you can spend on mass structure upgrades, right? And another example, we have a couple of Aurora here, you should all be familiar with that, and we have a Seraphim Bomber here, and these are 16 Auroras, so that's 830 mass. Seraphim Bomber is 120 mass, and I hope you know what's going to happen, right? Single bomb, going to kill all the Aurora, and the wreckages are still there, but if I press Control Shift as I'm doing now, it won't even show the reclaim value because it's under 10 or something like that, right? Or under 20, I'm not sure. So a single bomber killed all of these Auroras. That's why if you play against Aeon, it's very important to maintain air control. And sometimes even if you don't have air control, you should still use bombers, because they will pay back their own cost even if they drop just a single bomb. And if you need to invest way less into your army than the opponent, the residual eco you still have left can get invested into your economy upgrades, right? That's the idea. And here's another situation. So this brown guy is a player who hasn't watched my unit composition tutorials, and he forgot his scouts and his arty. His mix is just tanks, and he's going to attack, and he runs directly into a PD. He doesn't even have a chance to avoid it because there's wall stuff, and the PD is just going to kill the tanks. Right? And even if the tanks are firing back at the PD, they don't have any chance. And in this case, the tanks were more expensive than the PD, but we still have the PD. We have reclaim on our side of the map, so that's a reclaim advantage too. But it is already a tech or composition advantage in itself, because this is designed to counter this, right? And the opponent's still engaged. So some of these composition advantages or tech advantages depend on mistakes the opponent does, but sometimes it's also just you being smart and making the right choices in building counters. So you should definitely understand the concept of tech or composition lead, and whenever you spot it, that's a sign that you can eco more than your opponent, potentially, right? So good luck, have fun.